Dave Calby. I'm the chair of the board of directors for the West Hartford Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, everyone. It's a fantastic turnout tonight. Isn't this a wonderful place? Let's give them a hand. I actually thought I was going to get away with just having executive time today, but Barbara will be on the agenda, so I'm going to have to work. Actually, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to thank our presenting sponsor, TD Bank, once again our presenting sponsor. And it's my pleasure to introduce Mike Labella, who's going to just say a few words. Mike is the commercial market president in Connecticut for TD. He manages TD's 4 regional offices in New Haven, Hartford, New Britain, and Fairfield. And he himself is located in Wilton, but he tells me, at least he did last year, that West Hartford is one of his favorite places to visit when he's working, and we always appreciate that. It's going to be even better this year because of all the positive changes in West Hartford. So, Mike joined the bank, TD Bank, in 2007, has over 30 years of banking experience. Before TD, he had key management positions at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Citibank. He's a member of the board of directors for Connecticut Bankers Association, serves on the board of directors for Bridgeport Regional Business Council, New Haven Regional Leadership Council. He also serves on the board for the Workplace, the Miracle League of Connecticut, the Business Council of Fairfield County, and is the finance chair for St. Catherine's Academy. So he's got a lot of spare time in his hands if you need anything done on your house. So, you know, TD happens to be my personal bank, and when you go into a TD branch, they make it a point to make sure every customer is greeted with a friendly, welcoming hello. And I'd like it if all of us can give a friendly, welcoming hello to Mike right now.
Thank you very much, Dave. It is our pleasure once again to be the presenting sponsor. And, you know, we're also America's most convenient bank, very forward-thinking. So you see on your table that we are in the flu season. You have some tissues there, and we're all set to go. Also, we will be drawing the raffle winner. So there's 2 tickets to the Bruins and an autographed jersey here at the end of the mayor's speech today. So we'll be giving those away. I don't want them. I grew up in New York, so I have no interest in Bruins or the Super Bowl. So again, understanding that we are here to listen to the mayor, I'll just spend a few minutes updating TD's accomplishments over the past year just to justify some sponsorship level. The Chamber and the Mayor continue to do a great job at attracting new business and small business to West Hartford, as well as supporting the needs of its residents. Last year, TD did our part also. We were named the top SBA lender in Connecticut for volume and the top SBA lender for loans to women and minority-owned businesses. I was also very interested to read about the Town That Cares Fund that support the arts and social services needs of the town. Again, this year, I'm hoping to be invited to the mayor's ball, way on the list. But really, you know, it's so many things that the town is doing. The food drive organized by the mayor of the town for families displaced by Hurricane Maria. And I think we all understand the impact that the lack of a state budget has had on towns and residents, especially local not-for-profit groups. You know, during that time, last year was a difficult year for many not-for-profits, so TD, as well as many of our banking associates in the room today, we all stepped up to support our not-for-profit organizations. You know, we provided relief to victims of hurricanes in Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico. We also increased our support for local housing initiatives. Last year, we supported 2 housing initiatives for Everyone grant. These were $125,000 each to the Norwalk Housing Authority and to Hands on Hartford to turn a blighted property into 30 units of affordable housing. On the news front, West Hartford was again named one of the best residential communities in America by Money Magazine. I think you're number 15 in the country. And TD was named the best big bank in America by Money Magazine. We were also honored by once again being named the top 50 company by Diversity Inc. for our diversity and inclusion initiative. And just last week, we had a Veteran Day in job fair in our Hartford office for persons with diverse abilities. And we were again named by the Human Rights Campaign Foundation as the best place to work for the LGBT equality. Our corporate philosophy of giving back to the communities where we live and work fits perfectly with the Chamber. On a local level in Connecticut, we have provided not-for-profit organizations over $1.2 million through our foundation, our community marketing fund, and our regional offices. Now, it's always easy to introduce someone who shares the strong values of giving back and commitment to the community. Mayor Shari Cantor became Mayor of West Hartford in 2016. She is a West Hartford native and graduated from Hall High School. Before becoming mayor, she was deputy mayor for 4 years and has been a member of the town council since 2004. Shari graduated magna cum laude with a degree in accounting from the UConn School of Business and worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers in audit and tax and earned her CPA designation. She is committed to serving West Hartford's residents by governing with civility, honesty, and respect. Shari instituted office hours at Town Hall as well as a variety of locations in the community, so she can hear from the entire West Hartford community. She remains chair of the Finance and Budget Committee and participates in all town council committees. Mayor Cantor is an active member of the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities and the Capital Region Council of Governments. Mayor Cantor is a UConn Board of Trustee, volunteers with the American Heart Association, the Connecticut Children's Center, West Hartford Rotary, Food Share, the Jewish Federation of Greater Hartford, the West Hartford League, the Hartford Symphony Orchestra, and the American School for the Deaf. She is married to Michael Cantor, co-managing part of the global intellectual property developer, Cantor Holder for 33 years. They have 4 sons, recently married Josh. In 2017, she and her husband Michael were awarded the Anti-Defamation League Towards the Liberty Award, and Shari was inducted into the University of Connecticut School of Business Hall of Fame. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Shari.
You didn't stand up here, did you? So I had an option for a single stool or a double stool. I'm going single. So you all know I'm pretty vertically challenged. So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Mike, and thank you so much for your sponsorship and your community partnership in the community for all of the communities that you are a part of, and we really do feel that. I know last year I said it was the biggest crowd ever. This is the biggest crowd ever. And look, I know it's not for me, Charles, it's for you. It's for everybody to see this beautiful room and this incredible facility. And we are so thrilled to have you as part of our community. So thank you so much. I actually had a joke, and I'm going to have to say, I actually had, I don't know if you read the paper this morning, but 50 Cent actually was selling his albums with Bitcoin, and we were going to start a West Hartford Bitcoin. So we're talking about it and we're thinking about it. But I was going to get you started today, but we'll have to wait maybe a little bit. I also was a little concerned when I got to the tables that I saw tissues, because I know, life, it can be hard, but I was a little concerned that we were expecting the worst. I have some tough news, but I have some positive news too, so thank you for that. You're all prepared, so if I hear rustling, I'll know. I also want to just give a quick acknowledgement and thank you to some of our elected officials that are here. We have Senator Beth Bai we have Representative Andy Fleischman and Representative Derek Slapp here. Deputy Mayor Beth Kerrigan is here. Chairman of the Board of Education, Cheryl Greenberg, is here. And then from town staff, we have I have a separate section of new town manager. Matt Hart is here. Mark McGovern, Mark McGovern, Kristen Gorski, Helen Rubino-Turco, Bob McHugh, and a special thank you to Renee McHugh for helping with absolutely everything that gets done in town. And as well as Brittany Stevenson, who's not here, who is our executive assistant and works with Matt and all of the council and deserves many, many thank yous every day. So appreciate all of that. Again, thank you all for coming and being a part and invested in this wonderful community of West Hartford. I'm really proud to say that the state of the town is strong. West Hartford, as you all know, is vibrant, healthy, and fiscally sound. But that does not mean things are perfect or easy. I addressed you, appointed last year and elected in 2017. And I am reminded every day of what an honor it is to be a part of such a remarkable community. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve my hometown. And many of you don't hear all the anecdotal stories that I hear about how touched people are by the professional staff that we have, whether it be a paramedic that has saved a life, whether it's a public works person who helped somebody on an icy driveway get out of their driveway, or whether it's a transition in a school system of a child who is going through a really difficult time and how our schools helped them adjust into the school system and now they're thriving. I hear about it all the time, and that's what makes our community so special. So being mayor is my passion, although it doesn't pay very well, in fact, not at all, but that's okay. I get incredible satisfaction from what I do. And I would not be honest to say that this was a bit of a crazy year, very, very challenging year. And I don't know about you, well, I feel like this year has flown by, but also felt like an eternity, right? 2017, I'm just going to do a quick little reflection back. It was a revaluation year, which is always a hard year for any municipality because different properties are affected differently. And there's sometimes, it's just sales driven, and you can't answer the concerns of neighbors. We also confronted the Hartford bankruptcy and MDC issues on how being part of a region would impact West Hartford, that we would now be billed for a potential West Hartford share. And then the governor's roller coaster budget began. So we were going to be cut $12.5 million, and we were going to be assuming pension liabilities for teachers' pensions, and then we were going to be cut the whole portion of state aid, which was in the tune of $23 million. So, I mean, it was just this really difficult year. And the timing is difficult enough because we have to adopt our budget in April, but the state does not adopt their budget till June. So in a good year, it's hard enough to predict what's going to happen. In a year like this, when we had these incredible swings, much, much harder to do. So we talked to our legislature, we met them with them regularly, communicated to them. I went to testify many times at the state capitol, wrote letters, had coffee with governor's staff, whatever I could do to make it known that West Hartford is important to the region, and really these kinds of swings make it so hard for us to govern and have the stability that we've worked so hard and the vibrancy that we've worked so hard to have. So we didn't know what the end result was going to be. So in the meantime, everybody pushed up their sleeves. The schools cut millions, $2.5 million. The town cut $2 million. Doing things like leaving positions open and we reduced positions, we postponed capital projects. Whatever we could do to control costs, we did. But the most important thing was we wanted our residents and our people that have invested in our community to have the benefit of our funding our priorities, which is safety and education and the quality of life. So we ended up adopting a budget. We decided to put in a contingency because we didn't know whether it was going to be ECS money or whether we were going to be taking on an obligation of a future liability for the state of Connecticut. So we put in a $7 million contingency, and as of late October, we still did not know how this was going to fall out. And again, I want to thank our legislators, Senator Bai and Representatives Fleischman and Slapp, because we talked many times, multiple times a day, and they weren't always the most polite conversations. So again, I thank them for their service. But unlike some other municipalities in Connecticut, we planned well. We provided stability, and in a very, very stressful time when there could have been incredible instability and a reaction to the governor's budget. Instead, we ended up with a cut of $6.7 million, and we had a contingency of $7 million. So we were pretty much right on. But that doesn't mean it didn't come at a cost, right? This whole roller coaster ride. Moody's issued a downgrade for 26 municipalities or districts and assigned a negative outlook to 27 other communities, of which West Hartford was included. We were awarded a AAA bond rating by both agencies for our January bond issue, but remained on a negative outlook by Moody's due to the state's fiscal challenges and having enough money in our undesignated, and this is a little bit in the weeds, undesignated fund balance to be able to weather those fluctuations and storms. West Hartford is very stable. We have a very high collection rate. Property taxes are our primary source of revenue. So the fluctuation is not something that we generally see. So for us, we have an undesignated fund balance of 9%, but we have other fund balances that equal about 17%. Moody's would like us to have a 13 to 15% purely undesignated fund balance. So this is going to be an ongoing challenge, and we will have many discussions about it. Right, Matt? Our state, and Peter's here too. I'm sorry, Peter, CFO, all did so much during this incredible year. I'm sorry. Oh my God, Peter, sorry. We will continue to fight for ECS, our biggest share of state aid. And we will continue to make the tough choices that every municipality is going to make, and many of them we have already made. And I hear also from our accountants or when I went to testify, how did you combine every administrative job from the Board of Education in town? It took 10 years, but we did it. And we have a very, very low administrative cost because of all of those things we've done. We consolidated administration functions, obviously implement cost controls wherever possible, collaborate with other towns where it benefits all of us, carefully invest our funds, continually address unfunded liabilities through plan changes and increased employee contributions, and pursue other revenue options. So our largest aid, as I told you, is education cost sharing. What does our school system look like? It's not as people expect. We are unique. And I often say that, and it is a great, wonderful way for our children to enter into the world. They are in an engaged, diverse population that is enriched in every way. We have had very little decline in school population. Many communities have seen 15 to 20% student decline. In the last 4 years, we're about 1%. We have 74 primary languages spoken in homes of students that come to our schools. We are 128th out of 169 towns in per pupil spending, partly because of those administration and functions that we've combined, and partly purely because of our size. We have done all of this while the rankings in Newsweek, U.S. News and World Report, Washington Post, all rank our two public high schools, that's two public high schools, as tops in the nation. I often say this should be an example and not be penalized for our success, which is, I think, part of what has happened to us. If we spent what the state spent on an average per student for this past year, we would have spent more than $12 million additional in this year's budget. So West Hartford pays, we're the 5th highest, I don't know if this was a question, we're the 5th highest income tax, we pay the 5th highest income tax to the state of Connecticut. Some of that's by size, but some of that is also, and this is behind Greenwich, Stamford, Fairfield, and Westport. That's why TD is here. No. But we are the 25th highest in state income tax per capita. But we are 67th in median income, and an ECS wealth factor, which has many different components to it. One of those is language. We are 111th. So what it means is that we have significant wealth, but we have significant need. And we have a lot of people that are in the middle as well. So this is important for our legislators to understand and the state and our residents to understand. It used to be 2008, we paid 70% of our revenue came from property taxes. Last year it was 87%. So property taxes has become a bigger component of our revenue, and there's not many places we can go. The state has actually taken fees away, and so we have less diversity in our revenue base. Our indicators are really strong for West Hartford. Unemployment is 3.5%, and the Hartford labor market and the state average is 4.9%. The federal was 4.1 as of October. That's the last number that I had. So, I mean, but things are looking really, really wonderful for West Hartford, not to say that we don't have our challenges. At last year's lunch, you remember whoever was here, we handed out puzzle pieces and we had you fill in some traits that you thought would be valuable in a town manager. Well, we started as the roller coaster of the state budget began, we started our search for a town manager, and I even thought, is anybody even going to want to be town manager, as we started to see all the publicity on the fluctuations. But we began our national search, and we had wonderful candidates, because West Hartford is a great place to be, and people know that. And we wanted to attract the best candidate in the region. So after 4 months, we got the best candidate. And Matt Hart, if you haven't met him, he's over here, and he is... He's an experienced town manager. He's on the executive board of the International City Managers Association and is well known in the state of Connecticut. Every meeting that I go to, people always say, you made a great choice, which is always very comforting. He's been actively reaching out to get to know people, implementing best practices, bringing a fresh new perspective to town government, and he is gearing up, thank you, Peter, for the budget 2018 and 2019 budget. So when you have top employees in town, they get recruited away. And unfortunately, sometimes that's a really hard thing for us. Our police chief, Tracy Gove, who had 22 years with the West Hartford Police Department, was recruited as head of security for Travelers, and we wish him well, but we do miss him. The recruitment for a new police chief, I think you've been reading about that in the paper, has started. In the meantime, Assistant Chief Dan Coppinger has stepped into the role as acting police chief, and we are grateful for his experience and professionalism. West Hartford began our paramedic service as of last year. I think we had just kicked it off. We have responded to 6,000 emergency medical service calls. 49% require advanced life support intervention. By bringing this service in-house with 5 paramedics on duty, response times average 3 minutes and 13 seconds, which is significantly less than the previous model, which had 2 paramedics on duty. And this is at a significant savings to the town as well. We will continue to figure out how to best deliver this service as pre-hospital medicine continues to evolve. We also implemented an automated overnight omit system, which really cut our calls to the emergency reporting center for parking of 20,000 reduced calls. So we can streamline and take serious issues and not on those processing kind of issues. Cornerstone Aquatic Center, I don't know if any of you have been in there, but we had an open house on January 7th. It is really well improved, and I want to thank Helen for her work on this. Newly completed, fully accessible family changing rooms. As a mother with 4 sons, that is really helpful, I must say. The center is owned by the town and professionally managed by Health Fitness Corporation, which took over the management last July. They're doing a fantastic job bringing that facility to be a top regional facility. Rockledge Restaurant, Angelo's on Main, Rockledge Golf Club's popular clubhouse, closed in December. It had been operated for 16 seasons by Angelo Chirico, who recently retired. The restaurant will undergo extensive renovations and is expected to reopen in this spring, under management group of Chip Cohn and Beachland Tavern Group. So we're really looking forward to seeing their progress. And Veterans Memorial Skating Rink also has undergone some terrific turnaround. Peter Montesano is the manager, and he has developed incredible relationships with all stakeholders, including Youth Hockey League, 3 high school hockey teams, the West Hartford Figure Skating Club, and of course our very popular, remember Josh, the Learn to Skate program. He hated it, but that's another story. That was him, not the program. Anyway, the enrollment has increased by over 25% from last year, so that's great. And they're also organizing some very exciting Winter Olympic kind of activities for the facility. Connecticut is facing a trash crisis, and it's true. DEEP has been tasked with the management plan that will reduce municipal solid waste production by 60% by 2024. It has become an economic issue, not just an environmental issue. That's 2.3 million trash per year statewide that need to be diverted to recycling or composting. So, and this costs the state about $2.5 million more per year if residents continue to produce trash. I don't know if this was a question, but it would have been 3.5 pounds per day on average. So what is West Hartford doing to address it? We actually had some outreach last year on a SMART program, which is save money and reduce trash. In the meantime, we have initiated weekly curbside recycling, curbside textile recycling through Simple Recycling. That's the pink bag that you received. Pumpkin recycling, which people throw very heavy pumpkins in their trash, and we pay for that. Post-holiday cardboard and electronics collection, and Waste Wizard recycling app, which helps guide you through what options you have for certain items. And King Philip School actually did a plastic challenge and collected 45 pounds of film plastic, enough to fill a pickup truck. So we're teaching many of those behaviors in the schools, but it really does, it's an economic issue, and West Hartford really does need to talk about it, as well as being an environmental issue. We have done the curbside, we were selected from October to January 4th to the only municipality selected to conduct a pilot curbside food waste recycling program. 10 tons of food waste was collected from 130 households. That's a lot of food. And it was turned into clean, renewable energy enough to power 750 homes. So there's definitely, and this experiment has taught us that there's definitely a model that might be able to be used in Connecticut for this kind of waste program. So we will continue to talk to Covanta, Quantum Biopower, and Paynes, and Public Works to figure out how best to proceed and maximize our options. Development initiatives. I know this is something that we focus very hard on in West Hartford, and we're largely developed, so these opportunities are really important to us. 2 new ordinances were approved in 2017 that are very exciting, and they're encouraged to they really are to encourage development in our highest value property in town, which is West Hartford Center. We developed an incentive zoning ordinance. At the direction of the town council, a working group was made of center residents that led us to we had a community engagement process that ultimately ended with a vision for West Hartford Center. And it helped the council decide how best to codify how we can increase development in West Hartford Center. They developed this vision statement, and we developed the incentive zoning zone ordinance from that. This is an opportunity, this will be in the central business district, where a developer can come in and they can have things like adding affordable housing, workforce housing really, a structured parking, public art, public open space, and infill development that will allow them to have a properly scaled but potentially more dense project in West Hartford Center. But what's important about this is that we now have newly introduced residential development in West Hartford Center, and everybody is doing this throughout the state of Connecticut, but also around the country. They understand that without residential development in centers, you will lose retail. It can become less safe. This is someone's neighborhood when they move in. So it builds on vibrancy, and it actually just encourages and secures a diverse retail and commercial base. So this is really important for the future of the center. The other is experiential retail. As we all know, retail has changed. Amazon and many of those options for people are, it has changed walking into a store. So we have some unique properties that are going to be coming online. REI is going to be moving in West Hartford, but to a different location. And so what are those bigger spaces going to be? So we adopted this experiential retail, which can combine arcade games, bowling, billiards, live music, and sale of food and alcoholic beverages. So it will be allowed in special use permit in the CDBH, the Central Business High Intensity Blueback Square zone, and industrial zones on New Park Avenue. So hopefully this will allow for some of those spaces to be used in really unique ways and continue to provide the vibrancy that we would like. One of the things Kristen worked so hard on, and if you haven't talked to Kristen, you should, because she's really a star. Many thanks go to Bruce Simons of Figure 8 Properties for his cooperation in establishing a reduced rate program for employees to park in the town center garage at 29 South Main Street, freeing up on-street and surface lot parking for customers in the center businesses. 17 businesses have joined the program, and 30 individuals have purchased monthly passes at the town center garage. We continually look at parking as an issue and try to manage it, and this was one way to help get some of that inventory of our most highly desirable spots off the street into an economic way that will be feasible. So again, I want to thank Kristen for that. And more good news into the future. Development highlights for 2017. We had an active year. 40 new businesses opened or will be opening very shortly. And they are from manufacturing to financial institutions to, of course, restaurants. And the community services department, I'm not sure whether it's going to be Kristen or Mark, are going to be doing a program on April 26th at Wampanoag, so don't miss their update. So I'm not going to go through those 40 businesses, but we do have the highlights are Delamar West Hartford right here, which really does change the region. It actually anchors that, I think, the quad of West Hartford Center and Blueback Square, and continues to be a draw. I've heard so many people talk about, have you been to Delamar yet? Have you seen the space? And it really has created incredible buzz. Not only do they have this great restaurant, artisan restaurant, and the banquet facilities and 114 boutique rooms and a great spa, but they also have dressed to the nines custom clothiers and Lane and Lynch florists. Corbin's Collection, well, let's just give them a hand because we're so proud to have them here. The redevelopment of Sears Plaza in Corbin's Corner. We were one of the first Sears that actually had the application to redevelop, which really says something about our region. And their announced tenants are REI, Saks off 5th. I'm very excited. Michael is not. Cost Plus World Market, Bye Bye Baby, and highly anticipated Shake Shack, which Josh is very excited about, right? We also have worked really hard on the transit-oriented development push, and this is something, and I'm going to get a little bit into some future trends, but major construction has happened on New Park Avenue, and with 2 fast tracks, and hopefully we will be working towards a rail station. It's a little bumpy right now, but West Hartford Housing Authority, I know George Howell is here. We are so excited to be in the final phases and seeing the final phases of this mixed income apartment building on an industrial zone that had no residential. So this is a catalyst to the region, and we're thrilled for them. It's actually has 12 veteran units as well. So a very exciting campus, and hopefully will be an anchor for many, many more projects to come. The Yukon campus, I get asked this a lot. As a Yukon trustee, I am not part of the decision-making process on that negotiation, but the town council voted to terminate its purchase and sale agreement with the university, but the town is actively engaged going forward. The council's ad hoc committee, which I developed on economic development, will lead a community engagement process, so keep your eyes open on that, to establish community vision for the site. Following this process with cooperation with Yukon, the town will seek a developer to carry out the community vision for that property. And this is breaking news. The Macaulay is embarking on a lifestyle evolution. Trinity Health Senior Communities has made a $4.3 million investment in the Macaulay and will be adding a fitness center, a spa and salon, an outdoor dining space, a family pub-style restaurant called the 19th Hole, and much more. The project is scheduled to begin in about 2 weeks and is slated for completion June 30th. That's pretty quick. This is the first public announcement of the Macaulay Lifestyle Evolution Project, and it's considerable investment in the community. So congratulations, and that's great. And it's really important for us to be, I think, the ambassadors and the leaders to talk about how great our community is and our region is. Oh my gosh, Representative Joe Varengia, I'm sorry, I just saw it, I'm not sorry. Representative Joe Varengia. It's always the hardest thing to introduce people because you just know somebody's gonna, whoever signed, I got early, that was it, sorry. Great news that Aetna is staying, and I know, you can believe in a lot of different things, but the fact that they're staying is really a boost. I actually asked Matt if there was a way we could find out how many houses that impacted in our housing in our area. We know it's a lot. Anecdotally, we know it's a lot. And CVS has stated that they're creating a center of excellence in Hartford. This is great news for the area. And some of this you may have heard about or read about. I actually happen to get earfuls of it quite frequently because my husband chairs Connecticut Innovations, which is venture capital, public-private venture capital for Connecticut. And there are really good things happening. InsurTech, Insurance Technology Accelerator, that established generating 11 global startups in a very short time. And I met with one, actually, a global startup that is looking at housing and potential business in West Hartford. So that is having an effect on us. As Hartford positive, negative, it does have an effect on West Hartford. Stanley Black, as the state too, and the country, but anyway. Stanley Black & Decker's commitment to Hartford is establishing an accelerator in advanced manufacturing opening in June, which is also very exciting. UTC is hiring thousands of engineers, and a new wave of future retirements is also going to open up thousands of spots for engineers in that space. Aerospace suppliers for UTC, especially Pratt, are also hiring, and a real startup culture is taking hold. I don't know if any of you have had the opportunity to visit Upward Hartford at Church Street, but it is a really exciting space and is exactly what that startup environment feels like, and it's really wonderful. And Reset, actually, in the paper a couple of days ago, talked about Reset having funding to West Hartford companies as startups, which is also, again, a direct benefit to West Hartford for those kinds of little startups that hopefully will grow and either create more little startups or obviously bigger companies. Jackson Lab hiring are ahead of projections, and these are really high-paying jobs. New partnerships with Connecticut Children's Medical Center, not just because they're nice to have jobs. This is creating change for our world and making our world a better place. And the opportunities with Yukon Health's personalized medicine and the pediatric oncology research that is happening right now is earth-shattering, truly. And also even yesterday's news of by the Current that Connecticut's economy surged past the state and the Connecticut's economy surged past the U.S. economy's growth, 3.9%, which was, again, very good news. Now we have to come to reality, and we have some challenges, and we all know them. But overall crime is down in West Hartford, as is violent crime throughout the region. but we do have an increase in vehicles being broken into. So lock your cars and do not leave valuables on your seats. And unfortunately, some of these are repeat offenders, and this is something that we really have to be vigilant about. Drug overdoses. We all know that we are facing, there's an opioid crisis, and there's a lot of, I think, we continue to face this as an issue, and we will spend more attention to it and do what we can to help our community and the state get through this, and the country. We have a growing need for social services. Again, many people think West Hartford is West Hartford Center, and that's a really wonderful part of us, but that's not all we are. Our social services department continues to see an increase in need, and this I know is one of your questions. Last year, 6,000 bags of food were distributed, up 1,000 bags from prior year. The food pantry is always in need of non-perishable food. You can drop them off in the town hall lobby every day. Our Town That Cares is the charity where we fund, who monitors our food pantry and does other programs for people in need, like fuel assistance, which during those really cold times is absolutely essential. I also want to give out to Jason Jakubowski. It was a West Hartford resident food share. We also partner with Food Share on a lot of projects, and thank you, Jason, for your commitment to the community too. Social services also helps to connect businesses who want to volunteer in the community with various town programs. For example, YHB Investment Advisors, I think they're in the house, regularly volunteers for the Town That Cares Fund, whether it's backpack program for needy students or sorting items for a food drive. So thank you, and let's give them a round of applause. The Town That Cares is also a beneficiary of the Mayor's Charity Ball, again with the Playhouse and Park. I'm going to do a little plug for that in a couple of minutes. We are a community of action, and we're a community of compassion, and we could not do that without the Town That Cares and all of your help. So some of the continued challenges that we face as West Hartford and a greater community. Obviously, the financial concerns of Hartford and the state, and stability and predictability. And we continue to work towards that and talk about how important that is. As business owners, you know what that means. Coping with unfunded state mandates and the way forward on that, and fixing some of our problems. Fixing aging infrastructure. This is not only true in West Hartford and Connecticut, but throughout our country. And the recent suspense on transportation projects. We need to have funding for the transportation fund to make sure that those projects continue. So that has to be worked out. Rising cost of government. We are funded, like I told you, by property taxes, and as insurance and utilities and all your household costs go up, so do ours. So we have to figure out a way forward with that. Economic development that makes sense and maximizes on what our best traits are and how they fits in West Hartford. Traffic and transportation. We are trying to make, many of the biggest complaint I get is people speeding in town. So how do we make our community be safe? People can get efficiently, and they can have choices in how whether it's riding a bicycle or walking or running, that they have the opportunity to do that in a safe way. Regionalization is a push for us to be more efficient. There's going to be more pressure on regional efforts. Healthcare and pension costs sort of go with the unfunded state mandates, but also for town issues. Considering revenue sources other than income on property taxes. If we can't keep up with the property tax structure and we're doing all we can internally, what are our options? And we're going to have those conversations. We also know that the federal impact on the cap of deductibility of state and local property taxes is going to have a significant impact on some states in the Northeast and California. So how are we going to deal with those issues too? We have a decreasing state population, especially higher income, and a lot of that's a function of an aging state where people at the peak of their income, they're at peak of their income earning years are deciding to go to a warmer climate, or maybe for other reasons as well. If immigration is reduced, Connecticut's going to feel it because our growth has been in immigration. We had positive growth in the state because of immigration. So if that changes, then that's going to be an issue for us. And it's going to affect our vibrancy, and I think what we all are. Severe weather events are going to continue to be a bigger issue. We're going to have more periods of drought, more periods of heavy rain, more periods of very cold air. You know, I remember somebody said, well, global warming, I don't call it global warming, I call it global weirdness, but there's the, you know, the pull, Fareed Zakaria says that the pull of the Arctic air that was trapped in the Arctic, as it starts to, because of some of the climate change, it starts to sag, and we're getting this dip. It was way more complicated than that, and I didn't understand. Neither of us really understood it. But bottom line is those Arctic temperatures are going to be coming back on occasion for long periods of time, and then they go back up, and it's warmer than it was. So it's that fluctuation, which isn't good for our roads either, or our pipes. School and public security. We have spent a lot of resources and energy on those issues since before Newtown, but especially since Newtown. And that also means counseling services too, to prevent security issues. Opioid addiction and overdoses, as I mentioned before. We've also had an increase, the ADL, my husband and I met with them frequently to go over. They've had a surge in calls and race hate crimes and racist activities and trends, which is not good for a very diverse community. It's not good for our country, but not good for a very diverse community. DACA residents, we have hundreds of DACA residents within West Hartford, and so that impacts us, whether it's in the schools or in our workplaces. And displaced families from Puerto Rico. Our social services agency is working very hard to help with the displaced families from Puerto Rico. So this is closing. I know I've been talking for a while, but millennials, I told you last time, and I don't know if, again, who was here, but millennials are the largest generation, 90 million millennials, as opposed to baby boomers, there's 60 million. But baby boomers, I will say, and these are people born between 1946 and 1964. Many of you fall into it. We have the largest buying power and the strongest, and actually are driving the strongest multifamily market. Baby boomers want easy care, amenities to be able to take out the wealth from their homes to make some lifestyle changes and choices. So what's important is that we keep attracting those millennials that are ready for homes into the area, so that kind of ripple can work. 55 plus households are growing. 30 million right now will grow to 50 million in 15 years. People are living longer. And 1 in 3 households are headed by a boomer, twice as many as the silent generation, the cohort that preceded them. So the key is, again, to allow those empty nesters choices, but to have that desire and of millennials to come in and buy those homes. And millennials are, remember, 1982 to 2002. So they're entering, many of them, they've left high school, half of them are entering the childbearing years. No pressure, Josh. So let's see, I lost my place on that one. So these are the markets that are driving many of our new developments. They're looking for a lot of the same things. They're looking for easy living, vibrancy, safety, updated, easy care, because a lot of millennials have had that, and so that's what they're used to. They're also looking for transportation, cycling, mass transit, ride sharing. So all of those things are blend well for the 2 largest markets. And just a quick snapshot, West Hartford's real estate market, I know there are a lot of realtors in the room. We actually had a healthy increase in our median home value of about 4%. It's $310,000 is our median home value. And volume is up from last year 5%, according to the Greater Hartford Association of Realtors, MLS, but not to say that we don't have challenges. We know the larger homes are not selling for what they did sell for. The million-plus homes, there's not as many corporate executives here. People aren't having as big families, and we know also the cost of living is also making an impact on that. There are those areas that are doing remarkably well primarily around West Hartford Center, those home values have gone up over 20%. So that's huge. And unfortunately, that also affects property taxes for them too. The incentive zones can help control some of this and have some additional choices at providing vibrancy and protecting a quality of life. So also the industrial zone, I just want to go back to that transit-oriented development, the potential there. We have new residential in an area that never had it before, and hopefully we will continue that. We have a brewery that, if you haven't been to New Park Brewery, it's great space. My mother has even been there, and so that's really remarkable. She didn't have any beer though, but Guinness is good for you, Mom. That's not Guinness there, but. We also have food trucks and a gastro park that we approved for the area. So we're expecting to see a lot more activity in that. And then I'm just going to close on some anecdotes of people that I have heard recently that have moved to town and why they're moving here. 2 Rice students from Houston, Texas. I was really thinking about them during that Arctic blast. They came here because of the vibrancy and safety and walking distance to West Hartford Center. They're in a 2-family house off of Park Road, but also, that was interesting. A couple from Hartford with 2 children that were renting because they're saving money to buy a house. They were expecting their 3rd child and wanted to be in the West Hartford Public Schools. A director of a major medical institution moved here from San Francisco. Could have gone anywhere, but he loved the diversity and the vibrancy and the safety. Young couple from Brooklyn, I love hearing this. They go, it is such a value here. I'm like, oh my goodness. There because of the schools and walkability, vibrancy, and diversity. A couple in their 50s from Brooklyn for jobs, actually. Lower cost of living as well for them. Walkability and quality of life. Young family from Boston, schools, quality of life. They work from home. He works from home, and he goes into Boston once a week. Then 243 Steel, there were several anecdotes I heard of couples moving from Granby, Simsbury, and Avon to be in a more vibrant urban area. They're actually a young DACA couple that reached out to me, moved here from Brazil. They just recently moved back to West Hartford. We're in the West Hartford Public School Systems, came here when they were 5, and then moved back for West Hartford Public Schools. Millennials and empty nesters are moving to from more rural and suburban areas, and this is actually, there's research on this, to more developed semi-urban suburban areas. We have a diverse group of residents that desire what West Hartford has to offer. Safety, great schools, well-run town, amenities, and vibrancy. A variety of housing options remain important for our continued success. As we have changed, we have more multifamilies coming online every year. That was something that we really did not see, and residents, I think, were a little nervous about that, and it has been great for our community. So we continue to receive many great awards, top 100 places to live, safest city in the U.S., and best places to live in the U.S. But West Hartford remains a bright light for the region. We're one of the premier communities in the region, the state, and the country. Again, safe, vibrant, diverse communities with top-notch schools, quality municipal services, highly engaged citizens, and many social and cultural events we will continue to be successful. As we say, West Hartford has an innovation factor. Smart people, great caring communities, great ideas, and collaboration, but we need the courage and foresight to reinvent and change as needed. And without change, there would be no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. Those who initiate change will have a better opportunity to manage the change that is inevitable. So I'm going to close, but before I take any questions, or I don't know if we have time for that, but I need to plug 2 important events. The first is the Mayor's Charity Ball, which benefits Playhouse on Park and Town That Cares Fund. It's a black tie event. If you haven't been, it's a blast. It's under a grand white tent in the front hall of Town Hall, and even if it's muddy, you can navigate it in high heels, I'm telling you. And again, mark your calendar. Tracy Flater is the one to contact, Playhouse on Park, if you're looking for that information, and I'm sure if you go on the website, on the you know. The other is Celebrate West Hartford, the second weekend in June, June 9th and 10th. And this is the town's biggest community event. It draws 35,000 people over a 2-day period. Please ask Linda Geisler, I think, who's in the audience. Oh, there's Linda, yes. And this is a perfect opportunity for your business to get noticed and to build your brand awareness. Again, without the generosity and that fun, we can't have the Town That Cares fund help so many families. So with that, I'm going to close. Thank you so much for listening and for being here, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Before I disappear.